first step in learning how to pick big stock market winners is to examine leaders of the past, like those you're about to see, to learn all the characteristics of the most successful stocks. From these observations, you'll be able to recognize the types of price and earnings patterns these stocks developed just before their spectacular price advances. So study previous winners to buy future ones. So first, what is a model book? Basically, it's a compilation of high quality stocks / trades grouped by a common theme. The theme is often a time period, say model book stocks of 2024, the best performing true market leaders of 2024. And then for each stock, you want to analyze it both on a fundamental and technical basis. And depending on your style, you kind of want to, lean into that. If you don't consider the fundamentals too much, just focus more on the technicals. But if you're more of a can-slim foundation, you consider both. You definitely want to study, the fundamental nature, the story, the earnings, the sales growth, all of that as you're creating these model book charts. So here are the two goals of a model book. One is to build a reference of historical precedents, which can be referred back to and applied to a relevant current situation, and then also just gain insights about the characteristics and behavior of top performing stocks so you can handle them better when you buy them and get the most out of those future trades. So key steps of building a model book. First, you want to really focus and determine the scope of the model book. Then after you've determined the scope of the model book, you want to build a wide list of stocks to consider. And then in step 3, finalize to a smaller list that you actually want to focus on. And then for each of those stocks in that final list, research fundamental drivers and any extra info that might be helpful in that current situation. Then at that point, you want to focus on the technicals and take the charts, look for buy points, sell points, all that. And step 6 is actually building the model book, putting it all together. So here's an example of a blank chart that you would use. I like to note the year, the percentage move in the number of weeks that it did. This is of course Tesla, the best example there is. And you can either annotate the charts looking at a chart just like this, or you can add a white element here to block most of the price action, and then basically in real time make any notes. Really excited for this one. This is the last weekend of the webinars. I know many of you have been here for every single one. A little bit bittersweet. This has been an awesome series. Hopefully you guys have gotten a ton of value out of this. I know I've enjoyed immensely, and it's been great just putting together these slides, all of this. And I think it's a great complement to the book. Again, each of the webinars we've done coincides with a key chapter, key concept from the handbook. They're very complementary. If you really enjoyed the webinars, you're going to really love the book. And again, it's just an added resource that we created along with the handbook that I think can make a really big difference, especially for newer traders out there to build their foundation the proper way, think about trading, risk management, sell rules, all that the right way. So yeah, really enjoyed this, and I hope you guys have gotten a lot out of it, and it'll be there forever. So this will be really cool. All right. So with that said, let's go ahead and dive in. Again, today is the third to last webinar, and really the second to last educational webinar. We've got the launch webinar now on May 28th. We'll send more information about that. We'll basically talk about the book, all the bonuses that you get for ordering it. But today, again, we're talking about focusing on building a model book. That process, I'll be sharing a lot of AI techniques and prompts that you can use to speed up the process, get more out of the process as well. We're not replacing all the manual stuff, because again, a lot of the value actually is in doing the work. But we'll be showing some things that allow you to basically go deeper into the process. So again, building a model book, and then tomorrow we'll talk about doing trading studies, and again, how to leverage AI to help with that. So let's go ahead and dive in. Just a quick reminder, if you haven't yet and you want your book by launch week, definitely go ahead and order it. If you've picked up one copy, definitely go ahead and order another one, or order another version if you ordered the hard copy and want to pick up the audiobook. That allows you to unlock additional benefits. For instance, we'll be doing monthly Q&A calls with the founders for anybody who submits and buys more than one copy, and some information about that has been sent to your email. Definitely go ahead and do that. Those monthly calls will be a lot of fun. If you want to get the most out of this experience, you definitely want to do that. And you also unlock some additional gift cards and also access to the Trade Lab when you order multiple copies. But if you haven't even ordered one copy, definitely go ahead and do that. Again, if you've enjoyed these webinars and found them valuable, you're really going to enjoy the book itself, and of course, the model book chapter as well, chapter 12. So definitely go ahead and pick up your copy if you haven't already. And in the chat right now, let me know if you've picked up your copy already. We've had thousands of people do so, which is awesome. But yeah, let me know, if you have, and also the chapter you're most looking forward to in the book. That'd be really cool. Yeah, thanks, Jay. 2 copies. Awesome. Yeah, hard copy and Kindle. Yeah, I think getting the hard copy and Kindle, that way you've got it on the go. I personally like a hard copy and then audiobook as well. I think that's a great combo and get all three. And also, I think this will make a great gift for a trader friend or, a relative who's starting to get into the realm of trading. So yeah, definitely go ahead and pick up multiple copies. You'll unlock additional bonuses and help out others as well. Awesome. So let's go ahead and get further. Also, this is just some nice feedback we got. Somehow, Keshav got it early in India, which is awesome. It was great to see the notes that he's taken, as you can see over here. And yeah, great to see the first person who's got it. It's cool to see them tweet it out. So definitely, once you get your copy on Tuesday, a lot of you guys will get it. Definitely take a picture, tweet it at us. I'll try to reply as many as I can. And it'll be awesome to see you guys' first impressions of the book. And if you've got a place in your community like a key landmark, take a picture in front of it. It'll be cool to see where everybody's reading the book. So again, here's the QR code to order it if you haven't already. All right, and then this is just a quick testimonial from Stan. The Trader's Handbook is a clear, no-nonsense resource for anyone serious about improving their trading. It's rooted in common sense, sound technical principles, and most importantly, discipline. The authors focus on price action, trends, risk management, and teach you how to build a real process, not just chase opinions. It's a practical book that respects and emphasizes the core truth that the tape tells all. I recommend that you pick up a copy for your trading library. Amazing to hear that from Stan. Obviously, his book is one that, I built the foundation of how I trade on, and having him say this about the book that we put out is just amazing. And definitely go ahead and heed Stan's words and pick up a copy for your library. But this is really special to hear that from Stan. All right, and then also a special offer. If that's enough for you, if you order a copy by this weekend or buy an additional copy as well, if you've already gotten one, you'll receive a bonus $200 gift card. We're also running a Memorial Day sale right now, so you'll get kind of the double factor here, where you can pick up a masterclass or something significantly discounted. So again, if you pre-order a copy by this weekend, you'll receive a $200 TraderLion gift card, valid on any masterclass, so you can scan here to order as well. But this is a limited time only offer, only valid by the end of this weekend. So definitely take advantage of this while it's there. All right. So with all that said, one last thing. Just want to emphasize again, the book itself is an amazing resource, but buying it also allows you to unlock the Trader's Handbook educational course, which includes all the webinars all in one place for you, bonus educational articles and guides, the companion workbook, which has exercises that go along with each chapter, the weekly charts model book, the base breakouts model book, the sell rules model book, the market cycles model book, and also an exclusive Q&A with the founders, as well as this trifecta of webinar series. I think a lot of people here already have been attending these, the bonus webinar on trading breakouts, trading gappers, and trading pullbacks. I've had a lot of fun doing that, and that's exclusive to people who have pre-ordered and submitted their receipt. And this has been a lot of fun. Just these webinars in itself is tremendous value. Let me know if you've attended these already. The workbooks will be sent out. I see a question there. During the week of launch week, one will be sent out each day. So I'll send an email summarizing all of that. But basically, they'll be all housed in the Trader's Handbook educational course, which will be on the TraderLion website. To send the receipt, I sent out the link a few times via email. I'll send it out again. But basically, also, if you go to TraderLion.com/handbook, you can submit your receipt there. There's a link to that. But these bonus webinars are awesome. And just new today, we're going to be doing a Trader's Handbook community. So if you want to interact with other traders who are trading based on the same foundation, exchange ideas, exchange learning material, this would be an amazing resource for you guys. And nowadays, I know a lot of people are on Twitter, but it's just hard to actually use that platform and actually get a lot out of that. So this will be a lot less noisy, and I think a lot of value for traders out there. So really excited about the bonuses. Just want to emphasize that this is more than just a book. Basically, when you pick up a copy, you are unlocking all these additional resources that add a ton of value to this resource here. So definitely take advantage of this and submit your receipt once you picked up your copy. All right, so with all that said, let's dive into today's webinar. So again, welcome everybody to the Chapter 11 webinar on building a model book. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about, to do, to teach. So I'm really excited for today, and we're gonna be sharing, as I mentioned before, some exclusive prompts using AI that can help leverage that resource and dive even deeper into studying previous winning stocks, previous cycles, previous catalysts, all of that, to get more out of the model book creation experience. It's not replacing all the work, because actually a lot of the value in the learning isn't actually doing the model book, doing the manual work, marking up charts, but the AI prompts I'll share will help, streamline the very tedious stuff and dive deeper into catalysts, fundamental drivers, all of that. So really excited to be sharing, some prompts that I've developed over the past few weeks and months. Really, this is something obviously that's pretty new, and excited to share that with you guys as well. Yeah, we'll send out the link, Henry, via email. So be on the lookout for that. And yeah, awesome. Okay, I want to start out with a few quotes from William O'Neill himself. Obviously, he developed the canceling system by doing exactly what we're talking about today, studying the biggest winners going back to the beginning of the US markets. And what he says here is the first step in learning how to pick big stock market winners is to examine leaders of the past, like those you're about to see, to learn all the characteristics of the most successful stocks. And then also he said, from these observations, you'll be able to recognize the types of price and earnings patterns these stocks developed just before their spectacular price advances. So study previous winners to buy future ones. That's pretty much the key message here from O'Neill and what we want to be sharing in today's webinar. All right, so here's a little bit on the agenda today. First, what is a model book? Why are they important? And then we'll dive into the step-by-step process of how to build one, how to draw conclusions as well. And then, as I mentioned, we'll be talking about how to leverage AI to help improve the overall experience. We'll also cover some different examples of how to annotate charts, different examples and things that I've done as I've built model books, and then also discuss not just model books on big winners, but also studying the market cycles, because I think a lot of people have trouble, identifying uptrends and downtrends. That's a key differentiator from a boom and buster to a profitable trader, is being able to identify when the winds change and it's time to be defensive. So creating a market cycle webinar can really help, a market cycle model book can really help with that process. And we'll talk about and show some examples of some model book charts covering market cycles. So really excited for today, and let's dive right in. All right, so first, what is a model book? Basically, it's a compilation of high quality stocks / trades grouped by a common theme. The theme is often a time period, say model book stocks of 2024, the best performing true market leaders of 2024. And then for each stock, you want to analyze it both on a fundamental and technical basis. And depending on your style, you kind of want to lean into that. If you don't consider the fundamentals too much, just focus more on the technicals. But if you're more of a canceling foundation, you consider both. You definitely want to study the fundamental nature, the story, the earnings, the sales growth, all of that as you're creating these model book charts. Then with the model book, it basically creates a resource to review. But as I mentioned before, the real value in the learning is during the process of creating one, you're finding new edges, new rules, new processes to consider, and you're also just making observations. If you study enough big winners from the past, all the big winners in the future will just seem like deja vu almost. It'll match that same template both in price and volume action, as well as the fundamental drivers that create those moves. Because stuff always rhymes. It's never going to be exactly the same, but doing the work and building model books will just help you, build that blueprint in your mind of what does a big winner look like, and be able to apply that in real time in the future. All right, so here are the two goals of a model book. Again, one is to build a reference of historical precedents, which can be referred back to and applied to a relevant current situation, and then also just gain insights about the characteristics and behavior of top performing stocks, so you can handle them better when you buy them, and get the most out of those future trades. And this is a nice picture of one of the model books we've created over at TraderLion. All right, so key steps of building a model book. First, you want to really focus and determine the scope of the model book. And if you're just building your first model book, my biggest recommendation, my biggest piece of advice would be to start small. Don't say you're going to study 20 of the best winners from each year going back to 2005. You want to really focus on 1 year and a handful of stocks. Say, I'm going to focus on 3 stocks from 2024, and that's your first model book. And the reason I say that is because with anything, you want to set realistic expectations about the time, energy you have to devote to the project. And a successful project done actually benefits your trading. But if you start out very ambitious, you're likely not going to finish. and you'll kind of get less out of the whole process. So definitely start small with the scope, and then later as you gain more experience, know how much work it entails, then you can get more ambitious, cover entire years, cover multiple years, all of that. So start small, and then you can expand the scope in future ones. So that's my first bit of advice there. Then after you've determined the scope of the model book, you want to build a wide list of stocks to consider. So again, if you're studying 2024, you'd come up with a list of maybe 50 of the best performing names. And then in step 3, finalize to a smaller list that you actually want to focus on. And then for each of those stocks in that final list, research fundamental drivers and any extra info that might be helpful, in that current situation. Then at that point, you want to focus on the technicals, annotate the charts, look for buy points, sell points, all that. And step 6 is actually building the model book, putting it all together, and I'll show exactly the software we use to do that over here at TraderLion. All right, so again, determining the scope. You want to think about whether you're organizing the model book based on a market period, a market cycle like 2024, or a particular setup, because I think there's 2 different types of model books that you can create. One, again, is grouping things by year, so the 2024 cycle, all the best stocks there. And then the setup way would be if you say want to study earnings gaps and you collect a lot of setups from different years of earnings gaps. So again, there's market period versus setup. And again, you want to determine that in the scope before you go ahead and actually start. Then again, number of stocks, I suggest starting small, start with 3 to start with. And then, do you want to focus on fundamentals, technicals, or hybrid or both? You want to think about these things before you actually start, because again, you want to make sure you complete your first model book and build that momentum. And you can always, expand the scope later, but start small and then dive into the process. All right. Next step is to build a wide list. So based on the scope that you set, cast a wide net for candidates. The best way to do this is, you can use screeners like DeepView to look for the top performing stocks over a certain period. I like to Google top performing stocks of 2020 and then insert the year there. You can also leverage AI to say, hey, what were the best stocks during this period? And then also one really important thing to consider is during this period, say it's 2024, what were the biggest themes during that period? It was software, AI, semiconductors, crypto. So you would want that list of candidates to reflect those leading themes. So think about and research, and this again, you can use AI, what driving factors were present during 2017, and think about what themes were present, and then look for individual top performing stocks within those themes, because that's what you're really going to be doing in real time, is thinking about what are the strongest themes in the market and what are the top market leaders that are benefiting from that, overall driving factor, overall driving force in the market. So this is a big piece of advice I have for you guys, is think about the themes and then look for best stocks within those themes during that particular year, or whatever criteria you're looking to find them. So that's how you build a wide list. And again, I think a wide list should be about 30 to 50 or so names. Maybe it can be a lot less, especially if you're starting out. But that's a general rule of thumb. If you're trying to build a final model book of about 10 to 20 stocks, probably 30 to 50 is a good wide list amount. But again, be strict with this criteria. You don't want to just be considering any old stock. It should match the criteria you're looking for in real time. So think about that again as you're screening for ideas and building this wide list. All right. Next step, obviously, is to finalize a smaller list, and this gets a little bit more subjective, just like building a final focus list from a wider list. But basically, you want to focus on the highest quality stocks from that year. So what were the strongest percentage movers? Which stocks had the most liquidity from the start? Which had the cleanest setups, the cleanest chart patterns? Which ones, match your trading style? Again, if you're more of a position trader, you probably want to lead into more studying those type of moves versus just, a HIMS that went on a huge momentum move, or a GME that went up, crazy amount, but might not match your style and what you're actually looking for. Consider, the Tigers, CAN-SLIM characteristics, which stocks match those the best. And then again, also think about the theme that each stock was part of and which themes were strongest, and focus on the ones that were in the strongest themes. And again, just in general, stocks that were closest to your ideal trade, that's the ones that you want to study. And you can venture a little bit out of that to make sure, you're looking for new ideas and taking new inputs and maybe improving your system. But pretty much you want to focus on stocks that would be ones that you'd want to trade in real time that fit, your style, what you're looking for, all of that. So that's how you finalize a smaller list. And again, I think to start with, maybe have your wide list be 10, 15 stocks and narrow it down to 3 for your smaller list. And if you're more experienced at this and building a model book of 10, 15 to 20 names, have it be 30 to 50 on your wide list, and then your smaller list be that 10 to 20 stocks. So that's just kind of a rule of thumb for you guys. All right. Next step after you've finalized that list is to research the fundamental drivers behind each of the stocks. So you can think about, what's a summary of the business model, description of the company, what group, what sector is it in, what drivers. Again, you can look into Deep View to get a lot of this info. What key product/service announcements did it make throughout that model book move? What was the earnings and sales growth, surprises on any earnings reports during that move as well? And then what was the end factor of the stock? What made it go up so much? What differentiates it from any other company in the group and sector? And what's awesome now is we have AI to help assist with all of this stuff. You can actually tell it to do this, and it will be a great starting point. Again, whenever you use AI, and this is just kind of general thought here, you always want to give it very specific instructions, and then make sure you verify and double check it at least a little bit. You don't want to just blindly follow AI. You want to be kind of the editor when it's your intern, right? So AI can be very, very helpful with this process to find all this stuff out, but you always want to read through it, double check key stuff, and double check dates. I've noticed that sometimes it's like one day off. So that's something to consider as you're analyzing this. But this is kind of an example output that you kind of want to have. This is from the 2020 model book of Etsy that we did, diving into the summary, Etsy's fundamentals, growth, all of that, what made it stand out, institutional sponsorship, all of that. So this is kind of a good output that you're trying to kind of have. So a quick snapshot of the company and, what made it stand out is kind of what we're looking for here. And then this is where this webinar gets fun. Here is a great prompt to use with ChatGPT to get a head start on researching the fundamental drivers. So here's the prompt. I'll go ahead and read it. So this is what you're telling ChatGPT to do. And I was using ChatGPT 4.0 for this. 3.0 would probably be even better. O3, their naming is a little bit crazy. But anyway, here's the prompt. Create a thorough review of Robinhood stock. I'm using that as the example here. Identify any characteristics of the business that make it stand out in terms of its growth potential. What is new or revolutionary about the company? What are larger themes or larger movements that the company is riding? What aspects of the company would make large growth fund institutions especially interested in building or increasing positions in the company? Express your findings first in 10 key bullets, and then in a supporting report in a paragraph format. Cite specific resources to support your key findings. So I found that this is a pretty good prompt to use, and I'll zoom in and show some of the outputs here. And then you can always ask follow-up questions, dive deeper into a certain, aspect of the company or something you find interesting. So let's go ahead and zoom in. Here are the 10 key takeaways, a strong growth, institutional confidence, expanding crypto presence. So that's that N factor that we're looking for. So again, this prompt helps identify that. Global expansion, that's another N factor. Product development, another, N factor. They're using AI and all that. Targeting wealth transfer, this goes back to their mission and total addressable market. Revenue streams are diversified. So there's a lot of info here that can help, inform, how you think about Hood. And maybe be the reasons behind a catalyst for a potential move or current model book move that it's making. So strategic acquisitions, that's another N factor to help expand their target market. So there's a lot of good info here. This is just following up with the paragraphs. So you've got the sources here as well, which is awesome. And then here's a brief conclusion that it made as well. So this prompt gives some great quick info, and then you can always follow up on how is Hood dealing with crypto? How are they expanding that? Ask for key news articles, headlines. That's something I like to do. So that hopefully gives you an idea of how to use that. And then here's another prompt I use. What are some significant recent events in the expansion and development of new products or features for Hood? For each, labeled the date and rate the impact out of 10 to potential increase in earnings or revenue. And then these are some different catalysts recently that might help drive growth in Hood. So these are some cool things. You've got acquisitions, you've got Robinhood Cortex, desktop platform, all of that. So again, just diving deeper into the story behind Robinhood and the fundamental driver behind a potential move. Then I think this is really important as well. You want to consider, what are the drawbacks or constraints about the business that would limit growth or cause institutions to not want to increase positions, list out in bullet format, and then it listed out a bunch of stuff. You've got high revenue depends on transaction volume, all this stuff. So again, this is really cool. Again, we're kind of assigning a task to AI to help us with the model book process to dive a lot deeper into the story than we'd be able to go if we were just doing this manually, looking through news articles, all of this. So use this tool while we've got it. And again, this prompt here is a great place to start. So I'll probably send this out by email as well. So you guys can just copy and paste it and try it out and let me know what you think. But again, I don't really see anybody doing this to learn more about themes and which stocks are riding those themes. So hopefully this is something new to you guys, and let me know in the chat if you guys find this helpful and interesting. But I think this is pretty cool here. All right. Next step after researching the fundamental drivers is to, of course, focus on the technicals, annotate the charts. So analyze the price chart of the move, be as detailed as is helpful to you. You don't want to go overboard, but you want to analyze, key buy points, key sell points, key price and volume characteristics, the edges that you look for, potential entry, exit points. And this is really important. Be intellectually honest of where you would be shaken out. We don't want to just be hindsight traders and say, this went up 500% from this point, but it undercut the 21 EMA, but I would have held because I knew it would go up. You want to be honest. If it shook out below your sell point, label that on the chart and recognize that in the future you might be shaken out and need to rebuy the stock as it fulfills a reclaim or something like that. So this is really important. Be intellectually honest of where you would be shaken out, where you would sell and maybe have to rebuy. Edges, setups, and entry tactics. Where would you have gone on your radar and why? This is also a really important question. You want to think about, what screens could have helped find that stock? What edges could you have been looking for? What patterns could you have been looking for? And then this is also very important. Consider the market. The patterns that we see in stock charts are incredibly shaped by what the market is actually doing during that time. Some stocks are going to be a little bit stronger, some a little bit weaker, but you always want to consider the market context in terms of what's going on. Think about when the stock was showing relative strength versus the market. That's a key thing to note when you're analyzing a stock chart. So definitely consider these things as you're going through it. Then the final step is putting it all together, and we'll show some examples in just a minute. So don't feel like we're done just yet. Put it all together. Then once you've done all the research, both on the fundamental side and technical side, combine all the stocks together into one resource. You can use Word, Google Docs, OneNote, Canva, whatever is most effective and you have the most comfort in. And we like to do fundamental and technical pages, key takeaways about each stock, and then discussion of the overall model book theme. If you have key thoughts on 2024 in general, for instance, noting that IPOs had a great move during that period. It's always important to write those key takeaways after you finish doing a year. So that's kind of putting it all together. And this is an example of what we use. We like to use Canva. It's great for annotating the charts in a way that it's easy to save. And you can label stuff easily. You can add notes, add text, all of that. So we personally use Canva to go ahead and put together. That's what I did for the model book charts that you guys will be receiving with the Trader's Handbook. So here's an example of a blank chart that you would use. I like to note the year, the percentage move in the number of weeks that it did. This is, of course, Tesla, the best example there is. And you can either annotate the charts looking at a chart just like this, or what you can do, and let me escape to show this, is you can add a white element here to block most of the price action, and then basically in real time make any notes. All right, it's getting a little bit extended. All right, definitely extended, expecting a pullback or blow off move. All right, negative expectation breaker, breaking down here, still above the 21 EMA, and then do it kind of like this in real time and make notes as you go. So you're not, you're going to have a sense of that, of course it went on to make a nice move, but this allows you to be a little bit more in real time and make observations, breaking below the 21 EMA, and just as you go, note anything you'd be thinking in real time, bounce off the 50 SMA, rejection at the 21 EMA, maybe starting another leg down, and break below the 50 SMA again, poor close, breakdown, expansion down. Oh, we're at the 200 SMA, expecting either a bounce here or some type of consolidation. We get a nice bounce at the 21 EMA, expecting a higher low to form off that moving average. And there we go. We get the higher low, pop breakout here, So this is kind of how you would do it, less in hindsight. Of course, you're still going to know the stock a little bit well, but this allows you to annotate things in real time, type price action, key price and volume action, all of that stuff to help you, annotate the chart. And here is the final version. So this is kind of my final version. This is from the Trader's Handbook model book. Identifying gaps. That's something I'm really focusing on recently, is identifying where those gaps are, if they're filled or not. That's something I'm really focused on. So you always want to take note of key price and volume action that you're considering in real time. So here's a tight 2-day range. That's what I'm looking for. Early entry, wedge pop here, then breakout here, pullback to the 21 EMA, holds, entry, undercut rally. So again, note the entry tactics you would use at key points, the entry setups, key price and volume action. That's what you want to note here on these charts. Awesome. Here is another example with Shopify. This is a model book chart from 2017, I believe. But again, a really nice IPO move. Then this nice tight base. I believe this was only about 20%. Again, you can use, and let me escape here. You can use this element to kind of look through things in real time and try not to be as, again, just this allows you to be a little bit more intellectually honest about, maybe I'd be entering on this consolidation. Would I have gone stopped out? Yep, probably stopped out on that bar. Keeps consolidating, watching for a breakout. Maybe entered on that bar, up, probably stopped out there. So this allows you to be a little bit more intellectually honest and build, again, a sense of when a setup is mature enough to actually make a meaningful move. And that only really happens after a long-term consolidation. We're getting more mature here. Oh, we're popping through the moving averages, watching for a higher low to form. We get a nice higher low. We'll see if it gets stopped out. Yep, it got stopped out here. So again, this teaches you about head fakes and shakeouts and all that, and why you should keep a stock on your radar, because the setup is actually getting more and more prime the longer the space goes on. We get a nice pop through the moving average, watching for a higher low. We get a nice tight shelf, breakout there. That'd be where you're entering through these highs. And then we keep going, and that's the ideal entry point right there. So again, using this square here to just hide more price action allows you to do it a little less in hindsight and a little bit more objectively. So that's a good technique for you guys. Here we go. Let's present again. And then here is the final version that's in the model book. Again, pointing out this tight range here, entry upside reversal off the 21 EMA, early entry, and then adding through this pivot, noticing different higher lows here. This is a 17% deep base after a 50% rise. Here's the base pivot that was rejected a few times. So yeah, I think this is a good example of looking and seeing what elements you would want to identify, anything of note that you would be looking for in real time. Higher lows are key. Tight areas, again, that's what I really look for, but maybe you're somebody who likes to play mean reversion trades. Look for those key areas in the setups that you look for. Again, this is kind of my style, but you'd want to annotate the model books in terms of how you trade and all that. And yeah, there's a great example of a VCP, contracting base, really tight last price action. I think all of this is about 4%, this range here. And I love when we reclaim the 21 EMA and then pull back into it and tighten. That's a golden setup that you should be looking for. All right, then in addition to daily charts, I think it's also helpful to look at weeklies as well. But first, here is the daily chart of A-Lab. This is from the model book chapter of 2024. Again, it's a promising IPO, strong demand, then goes into neglect phase, institutional due diligence phase. There's no fall through down. I'm noticing this bottoming action, and we start moving up the right-hand side. This is the annotation of the right-hand side. So sometimes you might have to split up the daily charts into two to capture the full move. And this can be really helpful. And anytime there's a base that you really want to make sure you go back and study, I almost like to dedicate a whole slide and really zoom in so you can annotate that in depth and more clearly than you could zoomed out. But this is showing two charts here and here, annotating this move. Range breakout here. This is one I traded really nicely. So it's always good to look back and see, maybe early entries where you missed it. 21 EMA reclaim, what you can do better. Again, note down any observations you're making as you go through these charts. But then again, in addition to daily, it's good to look at a weekly perspective as well. You might notice something completely different on a weekly chart, or elements on a weekly that can help you spot it even earlier, or reconfirm that it's a very promising stock. So here's some quick notes on the weekly chart of A-Lab. In addition, going to the new stuff. So this can be really helpful too. And again, the weekly chart defines the longer term trend. And that broke here and is maybe just restarting currently. So again, this is always really helpful to review. And the weekly trend started all the way back in here. So even if you didn't spot this on the daily chart, maybe you could add it to your process on the weekend to review weekly charts and look for strong breakouts through the 10-week moving average that then tighten and set up additional spots. So that might be an observation you make based on studying these chart patterns. And again, like I said, the value is really in the process of annotating it. You want to be as specific as you can, but don't be too specific. And what I mean by that is don't feel like you have to label every single bar. Label significant bars, so very tight ranges, key upside reversal off the moving average, stuff that aligns with your edges, your setups, and your entry tactics, and anything else really relevant like base pivots, key moving average, reclaims, pullbacks, all that. That's really what you want to look for. And I've shown some examples here from our model books of exactly what I'm labeling, so you can kind of do more or less, whatever makes sense to you. But above all else, you don't want to clutter the price action. Because you want this to be a resource you can go back and review. So don't feel like you have to, again, annotate every single bar. Just label the significant stuff for you, and definitely dive deeper into really significant setups, bases, all that you want to make sure you really dive deep and annotate and analyze to learn from that. So that's an example of ALAB, looking at both the daily and the weekly time frame. Then one more thing I want to talk about in today's webinar is you don't have to just analyze the best stocks from a period. I think it's almost equally helpful to go back and analyze the market itself and the key, what am I looking for? The key fundamental drivers behind what the market is doing. So looking at key market tops, looking at key market bottoms. This is of the 2020 correction recovery. And what I've done here is, and this is from the Market Cycles model book that you get with the Trader's Handbook. This is one of the examples. Here I've annotated key events and headlines related to what created this correction, which was the COVID pandemic and the shutting of the economy. So I've combined some technical stuff with also, key headlines, declares pandemic, first US death reported, CDC warns of pandemic. So you can kind of see how the fundamental driving factor, which will always be different based on what market cycle it is, but what was going on in real time, what was creating the news that was the narrative around the market at the time, and then label that on the charts based on the day that it formed. This can be really helpful. You can see how stuff bottoms before things look all warm and rosy. Georgia started reopening here, which is well off the follow-through day here. So this can be really helpful to analyze, go back and study the past previous market cycles, and we'll do that for you in the model book chapter. So again, that's a big bonus of ordering the handbook itself. Here is the 2023 market bottom. This is also from the handbook model book. This is labeling the relevant fundamental driving factor, which was interest rates and the Fed at that time. There's also a few stuff regarding the Russia and Ukraine war, but this was focusing more on the inflation related news events. You've got May CPI, which caused this move lower. The Fed biggest hike, leads to this rally. So again, you can kind of see how the fundamental factors is influencing price action. And then when the fundamental factor stops mattering as much, that's when the market ultimately bottomed, and we see the nice start of the 2023-2024 bull market here. So this is a really cool chart here, I think, of the key news events. And again, this is a lot of work, but it's worth it to see. All right, that's how the market reacts to CPI numbers when that's the relevant factor. This time it kind of ignored it when the news was bad. That's a key that could have tipped me off that say, hey, this could be the start of a rally. So that's the stuff you want to kind of be thinking about as you review these handbook charts and as you do your own as well. And this is another place that you can leverage AI. So again, hopefully this is new to you guys. This is a prompt that I've been using when I'm creating these charts. List out key news headlines and dates for events and announcements related to stock market movements, especially related to the Fed, Jerome Powell, or inflation between the time period June 1 in 2023 to May 2023. June 1, 2022 to May 2023. And again, you would want to substitute in this prompt what the market is currently, focusing on. So that could be a trade war. That could be what the president is doing. That could be, again, based on the Fed, that's going to be it a lot of the time. But you want to substitute in the key fundamental driver, the key narrative that's impacting the markets during that time. And then it will export some different dates. I would double check these because sometimes the actual announcement is the day before or the day after, but you can always look at the actual sources itself. But this will, speed up this process immensely and helps make this a lot more efficient and teaches you a lot as well. And then you can always dive deeper. What were the May CPI numbers, and ask ChatGPT that, and it will dive deeper into that particular news event. So this can be really helpful to speed up the process of labeling this and understanding more about how the market reacts to that key fundamental driver. So hopefully this is cool to you guys. Let me know in the chat, but I think this is pretty fun. Here is the recent correction, and I've labeled again. The key fundamental driver here was tariffs, and what the president's doing. So I've labeled key things related to that. April 7th, rumor of pause sends market higher. Then 90-day pause was announced on this amazing day here, and then there's other events here on April 22, Trump says China tariffs will drop substantially. At this point, the market was kind of focusing on what China and US were doing, and that led to the rally that we're currently experiencing. So this can be really cool and help you understand how key news events drives the market and how narratives drive the market as well. I'll send all this stuff out by email to help you guys. And then in addition to this, I like marking up charts based on both the fundamental driving factor, which I just showed, and then also the technical characteristics. So gap downs, extensions, stuff that follows the key cycle that we look for. So it's important to look at stuff both through the fundamental lens and then also the technical lens, and then marry those two perspectives to come up with key takeaways and things to take into account during the next cycle when there's a new fundamental driving factor and you're looking to trade a correction or an uptrend coming from a correction. Also, it can be really helpful to label as you study a market cycle or a correction to study the leaders and when they broke out after that correction. So here is something I did for a presentation a while ago. I've labeled each of these days and when key price moves happened, and this will show you how leadership develops, how breadth increases, and how there's opportunities even weeks after we reclaim the 21 EMA or have a fall through day or start a new cycle. But this can also really help you recognize in real time what to look out for. Look for oops reversals and big extensions near the bottom of corrections. Then look for higher lows, range breakouts after the first higher low in the market. This can be a really helpful experience to analyze market cycles and, again, apply a blueprint and create a blueprint that you can look for going forward. And then also, in addition, of course, to so far we've talked about analyzing market leaders from a particular year, and then this we're talking about analyzing market corrections or market tops. Then the next type of model book that you could create is focusing on a particular setup. So this would be for a news-based gap up setup that I'm looking for a range breakout after. This would be HIMS after it announced a partnership. So you'd be collecting examples of similar news events that sparked a strong move. And this was HIMS just a few days ago. This was featured in the Trade Lab report on this tight day right here, looking for a range breakout itself. And you want to go back and analyze that move, look at what the chart looked like on the day of the gap, how the range developed, and then also, which I think is really cool, in deep view, you can go back intraday, very far and actually see what the intraday price action and intraday entry tactic you could have used. So again, when you're studying a setup, it's important to look at what would be the technical and fundamental information that you're using to look for an entry or analyze that particular setup, and collecting intraday charts can be part of that process if it is part of your process, right? I like to look for ranges that form and then undercuts and rallies of those ranges. So this can be a way to do that, and this would be part of that model book for me as I'm studying post catalyst gap ranges, and that's what this model book would be for me. So that's an example of a more setup based model book that you could create. All right, so that's most of what we wanted to cover today. I'll definitely have time to answer some questions because I went through that pretty quickly, but here's some key summary points I want to point out. So first, model books I think have the most potential to accelerate your trading development. 100% you need to have seat time and actually trade, but I think you can learn so many lessons and make so many key observations by studying previous winners that will help you trade in real time. So again, you can study prior leaders, prior market corrections, bottoms, tops, and then also organize your model book by a setup like a post gap range or an earnings gap or a base breakout. All of those are valid model books that you could create for yourself. And what I do want to stress is, although we talked about AI today and how that can help you go deeper and accelerate the process, the benefit is in doing the work. You don't want to just automate this and give it a prompt and say output a model book, because you're not going to learn anything from that. You want to do the work, label the charts, do the research, and you'll learn so much from that process that you can apply to capturing future trades. So again, leverage AI to help research and find key catalysts, but remember that the manual work is worth it and builds the muscle memory that we're really trying to learn in this process. All right, so that's it for the presentation. I'll take some questions, but just want to emphasize again, this is the last weekend before the book is released. Definitely want you guys to have this resource. I think it's tremendous value, especially with the educational course that goes along with it, with all these bonus model books that we're talking about today. You get the model book in the book itself as well, bonus webinars, the handbook community. So if you haven't picked up your copy, now's the time to do so you get it as soon as possible. Here's the link as well where you can order it. And yeah, again, I think it's really valuable. I hope you guys will dig it. I'm excited to hear your guys' thoughts. So really excited to get it into your guys' hands on Tuesday. The people who ordered it, way back when. And if you haven't ordered it yet, definitely go ahead and do so. And if you've already ordered it, pick up another copy to, give to a friend, especially if they're more in the beginner side. But even if they're more advanced, I think this is a great time to give them this resource so they can accelerate their journeys. So thank you guys all. And let me answer some questions here. So let's see what we got. Yes, I believe the PDF will be available with the audio version, and a lot of the model books and charts will be available in the educational course itself, which you'll unlock with an Audible version. And I also want to emphasize that to unlock the multiple copy bonuses like the monthly Q&As, an Audible and a hard copy version, that works. So you don't have to buy multiple hard copies. You can get 2 different formats, and that works as well. So yeah, definitely go ahead and do that. I love going on a walk, listening to an audiobook. I think it's a great way to learn, reinforce stuff. And even when I'm reading, sometimes I put on the audiobook at the same time, and that helps me absorb the information a little bit faster. So again, you can definitely pick up multiple formats to unlock those new bonuses as well. All right, so let's go ahead and answer some questions. Let me bring that up. Just to answer again, the bonus content will be in the educational course that you'll unlock during the launch week. So next week, we'll be releasing a model book each day pretty much after the launch day. And we'll send out an email. If you've pre-ordered and submitted your receipt, you're on the list, you'll get the bonus content. If you hadn't already, definitely go ahead and submit your receipt. The link to that is in previous emails. I'll send it out again as well. Let's see, and all the trading journals, all that stuff will be included in the course as well. Tomorrow, the webinar will start at 10 a.m. again. All right, let's see. Thanks for the model AI. Would you clarify the very first list is done scanning in DeepView or using AI right away? You can make that first wider list using a combination. I think DeepView can help initially get a list, but also I'd like to just search top performing stocks of 2023. And some good names will show up right there. So I use a combination of sources to get that first wider list. But yeah, that should be good. Alan asks, is Amazon delivering copies on the release day? I think if you pre-ordered it a while ago, you'll get it on release day. But it depends where you order it, because there's a lot of orders. So if you order it now, I think you'll get it a little bit later. But to get your copy as fast as possible, you should order as soon as you can. And you'll get the bonus stuff on launch day regardless, as long as you submit your receipt. The workbook will be in the educational course again. And being a Trader's Handbook founder is just, it unlocks those monthly calls, all that. It's something that we'll do exclusive stuff to that group in the future. So it's a great way to support us, and we'd be very happy to have you be a Trader's Handbook founder by purchasing multiple copies. What software do you use to annotate the charts? I either use DeepView itself or Canva. I also use to annotate. Yeah, I'm pasting DeepView screen captures into Canva. That's how we currently do it. In the future in DeepView, we're going to have a way where you can actually just save charts, annotate model books, save model books, natively in the application. Really excited for that, but that's further down the line. But that will allow you to keep it all in one place, all organized there, and do that annotation there and save those annotations. But for now, we paste screen captures into Canva. All right. Yeah, let me show how to get that blocking white square. Yeah, really good question, Jer. So let's go back to one of those slides. There we go. And let's escape. And then to get that, I literally just go to Elements and type in square. And then recently used here, it's under Shapes. You would add that. And then did it add there? Yeah, I've added 2. And then what I do, let me delete this one. Sorry, here we go. Is I click on it, change the color to white, and then you can just drag it, resize it however you'd like. So that's how I get that square, Jer. Really good question. Okay, let's see. Bob asked, Richard, do you see this book as a good follow-up and sort of update to Bill O'Neill's How to Make Money in Stocks? I listen to IBD Live pretty much every day, and you see the true dice about, yeah. So I think this book, again, it's presenting how we trade and also how incorporates a lot of the knowledge of all the market wizards I've interviewed. So I think it's a great addition. If you found value in How to Make Money in Stocks, you're going to love this book. I'm not going to say it's an update to his book, because his book by itself is still current and very relevant. But I think if you read How to Make Money in Stocks and find value in it, you're going to really like the Trader's Handbook as well. It's sort of almost an application of the system that we developed with the CanSlim Foundation, if that makes sense, Bob. But really good question. There's not too much AI stuff in the book, and the reason being is it's such a new thing that it was still, as we were writing the book, it wasn't really a thing yet. But that's the value of these webinars, is you're getting additional info and updates almost in real time. So AI is such a new thing that there's not really the prompts in the book, but it'll be in these webinars, and we'll probably create future webinars specifically related on utilizing AI for stock trading. So that's the benefit of these webinars, and the educational resource is it's a great addition and complements the book itself. All right, and I see a few questions about where these webinars are stored. They're all stored on our YouTube channel. There's a playlist that houses all of them, and they'll be all stored in the educational resource as well. Okay, awesome. Tigers is it's an updated thing, looking more for theme. All of that we broke it down in a previous webinar, but it's also in the book as well. So it's an update on CanSlim based on how we apply and actually trade ourselves. All right. Yeah, and Talk asked, does receipt of copy for your book include the Kindle version? Yeah, a Kindle version works as well. Some people prefer Kindle to a hard copy. I like both. I purchased each of the different formats, so you can pick whatever you'd like, and just make sure you submit your receipt. All right. Awesome. I think that's all the questions that I saw. So with that, oh, I see some in the chat here. Yeah, this is Canva that I saved the annotated charts in. But again, we'll be bringing that natively into Deep View in the future, so everything can be done in Deep View. The Trader's Handbook community will be part of that educational resource, so we'll release more information on that in next week. All right. Perfect, guys. The Gap webinar should have already been sent out, but again, that will be housed in the educational resource to allow you to review that as long as you'd like. Fantastic. All right, thank you guys all. Appreciate your guys' attention on this Saturday. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Give me a nice one-liner key takeaway from each of you guys. So if you enjoyed this, let me know what your favorite concept was that you learned today. Was it the AI prompts? Was it just building the model books? Building model books based on market cycles, how I did that. Let me know your key takeaway in the chat right now. It'd be cool to see what do you guys say. All right, do the work. Awesome, great key takeaway. AI prompts, great. How to use AI. All right, a lot of AI. Start small. That's a great takeaway. Awesome. AI prompts, Canva, nice. AI boxes, nice. Yeah, AI is more fun than Raspberry Pi. Yeah, very nice. How to annotate the chart, very nice. Great. So you guys pretty much grasp what I really want to express. So this is great. Awesome, guys. Yeah, so with that, I think we'll close out today. Thank you guys all for your attention. Really appreciate it. Again, really excited for you guys to actually get the book next week. And definitely tweet at us a picture of your book once you get it, and let us know your feedback. We'd love to hear it. So tomorrow's webinar again will be at 10 a.m. Eastern. So we'll be talking about how to do trading studies. I'll talk a little bit more about AI and how to use that to help with that. So definitely tune in tomorrow. I'll be sending out the link later today. But with that said, thanks so much for tuning in again. Hopefully you guys really enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys in future webinars. Cheers.